Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Haaland, and I run product for application integration. And we're going to talk today about the next generation of integration, which is AI driven. I'm joined today by Chris Duncan. He's going to come in a little bit later and help out with the demos and talk about some real world use cases. So I'm looking forward to that part. Let's go ahead and jump in. So this is the reality that we find when we talk to our customers that they find themselves in. There's all these different teams. Each team has their own application of record that is taking care of some important business function for them. And what we end up with is these disconnected data islands. Each of these applications has very important data for that part of the business process, but it's not usually automatically connected with these other applications in these other data silos. And so we want to help people to solve this problem. This is a very tedious thing to do, and we want to help our customers solve this important problem. This is another way to look at the problem. We find that large organizations have upwards of 500 plus applications, and the data is scattered throughout these applications, and it's not automatically connected. And what we find is that the number of applications that are actually growing as we go, not shrinking, right? And as GenAI starts creating, giving you the ability to create more and more code, this number of applications is only going to increase more with the advent of AI. So we see the challenges here of being able to bridge the data between these applications so that the data is synchronized in a timely manner, so that when something happens in one application, that data change can be reflected in other applications that depend on that data. We also want to provide the ability for our IT organizations at these customer organizations to not be the bottleneck in helping the business to move forward with having their data connected. And finally, we want to show you how AI can give us a competitive advantage by helping to solve this problem. So the missing link is connectivity and automation. So you want your data to be connected with these applications, but not just connected. You want it to flow seamlessly and automatically so that you don't have any manual intervention in order to keep that data up to date in the applications that need it. So we're going to add intelligence into these automations so that you can get your job done even better. And as you're doing this, you can actually improve your business processes by making them more intelligent using GenAI. So how do we solve this? We propose that you take a platform approach. Let's put application integration, GCP's iPaaS service, in the middle between all of your applications. And then you can start building these automations using a low-code interface. So you can build with clicks, or you can build with AI. We have actually a natural language interface now that you can build integrations. And we provide over 140 plug and play connectors. This number keeps increasing every quarter as we build new connectors. So this helps you to quickly connect to those applications right out of the box. You can automate your SaaS workflows, address any use case with minimal effort. And because this is running in Google Cloud, it's a cloud native managed service, meaning you don't have to worry about runtime resources. You don't have to worry about infrastructure. You don't have to worry about scaling. Google owns all of that, and we manage the infrastructure for you. And so you just log in and use it. It's like a SaaS experience for you on the integration platform. So this gives you a huge advantage over trying to run this software on premises. So how does it work? We have built-in controls for advanced orchestration. So you can do very complex automations where you might have synchronous, asynchronous, long-running processes, even human retries, human interactions, I should say. And there's error handling built in as well. You can tailor this for your use case. So we provide a very rich set of tasks, all in low code, but we also provide some capabilities to code when you need to. We understand that there's some very complex problems that you're solving. So you can write code and call it from Cloud Functions. You can do AppScript if you're doing something with Workspace. You can do JavaScript right in line. We have a JavaScript task. So there's several breakouts to code when you need to have that more complex use case solved. I mentioned that it's a cloud native managed service. Because we're running on GCP, you have the ability to run application integration in over 40 regions, over 5 different continents, right? So we are scaling with Google Cloud as we go across the globe with new data regions in Google Cloud. This also helps you to stay compliant with all the different compliance regulations that you have to maintain. You can run locally so that you can keep all the data within your region so that you can meet those data residency and sovereignty requirements. We do a lot of work in GCP to make sure that all the services implement compliance regulations. And so you get that compliance framework as part of the service. And finally, you can take advantage of the whole Google Cloud ecosystem. Because you're running on Google Cloud, you're not limited to just using application integration. We actually use many other GCP services as a part of our service, like IAM for your identity and Secret Manager to keep your secrets. And we use Google Cloud Logging and Google Cloud Monitoring. So we're pre-integrated with all those services, and then you can use services like PubSub and Cloud Run and on and on and on. All the other GCP services are available to you as well. This is a sample of some of the connectors that we provide to other Google services. You can see that there are a bunch of AI and machine learning services. This is really important for that point that I was making, where you want to make your automations more intelligent. So you can do things like make callouts to Vertex AI to get predictions. You can do things like translation callouts to AI. You can do document AI, which can scan in a PDF document and digitize it. Language and annotations, right? So there's all these AI services that are available in Google Cloud. You can now automate those into your automation using the connectors that we provide. And as you can see, we have workspace connectors, a bunch of database connectors, even connectors to other integration services like workflows and Dataflow and PubSub, as well as Apogee, of course, API management. So all of these connections help you to kind of glue together these different GCP services to give you a more complete solution. And here we have a sample of some of the third-party application connectors. You can see at the top some very technical connectors like FTP and email, but we have a bunch of SaaS application connectors as well. Salesforce and Box and Stripe, etc., Workday, but also on-premise applications like Oracle Database and SAP, which enables you to connect not only your modern SaaS apps, but also connecting back into that legacy application landscape. We also have a partner that provides mainframe connectors, AS400, DB2, right? We can do IBM MQ. So there's many, many connectors so that you can solve all the different integration challenges that you have in your enterprise. One of the first questions that customers ask me when I talk about connectors is, can I connect to my on-premise application, which is obviously behind a firewall, it's in a private network? And the answer is a resounding yes, you can. And this is one example architecture for how you can do that. Our connectors use this service in GCP called Private Service Connect. You can see that right here. And that gets us into your private VPC. And then there's some other GCP services that allow you to do interconnects or VPNs to connect to your on-premises networks. And we just use that same GCP networking stack that you would use for any of your other GCP private networking connections. The other point I want to bring to you about connectors is that you can actually build your own connector. So we call this bring your own connector or custom connectors. And you can see in this demo that's playing, it's as simple as pointing the connector configuration to an OpenAPI spec. And once you have given us the URL, you can see it being typed in here. We create a connector for you. So any OpenAPI spec API, whether that's a custom API that you have in your enterprise, Maybe it's even in your API portal for your partners. You could give this to them as a tool to help them to be able to call your APIs more easily. Or it could be a SaaS app that we haven't created a connector for yet, but they have an open API spec. You can quickly create that connector right here. So this extends your connectivity and gives you more governance and consistency, because you now have a standard way to call that API from any integration flow that you're creating in our tool. So why application integration? We are doing some really great work and investment in generative AI. And so we have just released a feature called Gemini Code Assist for application integration. This is part of the Gemini Code Assist enterprise license from Google Cloud. And what this gives you is the ability to create an integration from natural language. And so as you type in exactly what you want the integration to do, we send that off to Gemini Code Assist, and it actually will help you to create this integration just from a sentence that you type in. So what we want to do with this, and the reason, the motivation behind why we're putting so much investment into this, is we want to make integration development more accessible to everyone. We want even a non-technical person to be able to come in and generate integrations and automate their business processes so that they can have a seamless connectivity layer to their data between all these applications. So the combination of the GenAI work that we're doing and then the visual integration designer with the drag and drop interface makes this platform more accessible to your enterprise. So we see the IT teams that used to be the bottleneck in creating integrations now being the platform provider, and putting governance and things like code reviews and the CI/CD process in place, and then providing this to the lines of business so that the line of business can create their own automations and basically remove that bottleneck that used to be there in IT. It's more of a self-service model. You need an automation, go ahead and build it, and then we'll help you get it to production, is the way that the IT team can now operate. So you can now build with clicks or AI. You can choose, but using Gemini Code Assist to build your integrations is an amazing way to quickly create your automations and get those connections set up. And this helps you with assisting with your connectivity. It's tailored to your enterprise. So we actually look at your enterprise context by looking at the connections that you've configured and then bringing that data into the AI model so that we know which objects are available in which connection. And then when we generate this AI generated integration flow for you, we can actually select the right connection based on the questions that you're asking in your prompt. And this also ensures that you have better quality when you're generating this the first time. And you can bypass these time-intensive tasks. So you can see in this click-through demo, and Chris is going to show us a much more extensive demo of this later, but it's just a simple prompt that you type in. It gives you a preview of the integration that it's going to generate. And once you accept that, it simply creates the integration for you. Then you go and configure it for your specific use case. So I'm going to now hand it over to Chris, and he's going to show you some awesome demos and talk about some of the real life use cases where this really comes to life. So Chris, take it away. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Hey, so just as a reminder, my name is Christopher Duncan. I'm a customer engineer here at Google Cloud, and I primarily specialize in Apogee and app integration. And just like Scott was talking about, I'm going to showcase how you can utilize your enterprise context with generative AI and enterprise integration. And we're going to do a series of demos today. And with these demonstrations, I want to showcase how easy it is to build integrations for a particular retailer. So that's going to be our use case at a high level. And then from that perspective, we're going to add additional enterprise context and power all of that behind generative AI agents. So if we dive into this next piece here, generative AI with a lot of organizations is a new priority. Now, there are a lot of organizations we talk to on a regular day-to-day basis. Some organizations aren't ready to address generative AI yet. And then there are some leading organizations that are also looking to at least be a part of those conversations to think about the art of the possible. And so what individuals like myself and Scott and some of the individuals we have on our team here, what we do is we really talk about how generative AI can help you scale depending on the use cases and the requirements you may have as a business. And so what we've seen with a lot of customers is they're looking at pressure to innovate with generative AI. And what we see on both sides of the spectrums are consumers that are looking to do certain things and enterprises that are looking to do certain things in the long run. And so with consumers, some consumers are looking for things like the ability to have personalized product recommendations for their customers. Oh, personalized product recommendations in regards to their interactions with enterprises. Or they want to be able to get their order information very, very urgently. Maybe they want to see where their order is, what's the status of the order, when was it shipped from the warehouse, versus enterprises. Enterprises want to be able to help consumers in regards to giving information where how can enterprises improve their order accuracy so that when these consumers ask these questions, these applications can deliver the information accordingly, depending if the enterprise context is available. Or how do enterprises build enterprise grade conversational chat agents so that consumers can speak to these chat agents effectively, get the information they're looking for, whether it's an internal or external use case. And from that perspective, the enterprise is enabling more efficient standards for teams inside of their business. And so the thought process here is that a lot of organizations are looking at generative AI and they are trying to understand where AI governance is going to come into play. And holistically, from our perspective, we love having these conversations so that we can give them the art of the possible and where the industry is starting to shift in regards to integrations and generative AI. And with that, enterprises are really, really realizing significant value, right? So what we've seen with a lot of organizations that come to Google Cloud is they say, hey, what does generative AI look like in our business and in our vertical? And a part of that is what are some of the use cases that may be applicable for us? And so you can see on the screen here, there's different types of use cases we talk to customers about. There may be a use case for product and catalog discovery, depending on the vertical, right? Where organizations want to be able to list their inventory or their catalog very, very seamlessly. But how do they do that? How do they do that very quickly for consumers that are looking for particular recommendations or particular products? Versus business process automation, which is what today's demonstration is going to be around, the ability to automate information retrieval, which is very key and top of mind for a lot of organizations that are looking to expand on these type of use cases. And there's other use cases that organizations can see significant value in. And you also have to think about it from a perspective that enterprise organizations have a lot of different use cases. Maybe an enterprise doesn't have one specific use case, but maybe an enterprise has multiple use cases. And all of these particular use cases on the screen then become applicable from a generative AI perspective. And so what we've also seen is that different organizations, depending on the industry they're a part of, these are typically some of the use cases we see. For retail, we may see conversational commerce or customer service automation versus healthcare and life sciences, as you can see in the middle of the screen, maybe digital member concierge or clinical trial report generation, or even for supply chain, where they're trying to do some level of document search synthesis or customer service automation so that they can automate the process from a supply chain perspective and also give visibility into every individual or every organization or every line of that particular supply chain. If you can see on the top of the screen here, if you have an opportunity, we do have a public Google Cloud blog post in regards to 101 real generative AI use cases with some leading organizations at GCP. So if you have an opportunity, please type that into Google and you can find that blog post. And it goes in really, really good high level detail in regards to all of those particular organizations and their use cases from a generative AI perspective. So from my perspective, and we're going to dive into the demo shortly, we're talking with organizations on how they can bridge the gap with generative AI and integrations, and how they're able to essentially unlock innovation and efficient processes across different industries. And so with today's demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to really dive into application integration, just like what Scott just showed a moment ago. And we're going to showcase how easy it is to build an integration depending on an organization's requirements, right? And so we're going to actually target utilizing Gemini, and we're going to build an automation flow with clicks in natural language. All right. And so now with our scenario, we're going to start talking about, let's imagine a small retailer. And let's imagine a small retailer comes to Google Cloud and says, hey, today, these are some of the pain points that we have as an organization. Right now, we receive our purchase orders via email. We have to manually enter our order details into an ERP system. It could be an SAP or any other ERP system on the market. We still rely on handwritten notes. And we have a lot of lack of visibility, and we're not able to really keep our customers updated in regards to their orders, right? So these are big challenges. And from a GCP perspective, or from an integration perspective, how do we address this? And so this is this is where the customer would actually like to be, or the retailer, where they want to have their online orders flowing seamlessly into their systems, where they have complete inventory levels that are always up to date. All of the order information in particular is picked, packed, and shipped efficiently. So if there's an order that comes in, they automatically send notifications to the warehouse, and the warehouse starts processing those orders. And then they want real-time insights into the orders and their inventory sales trends, as well as the customers being able to interact with the retailer and get updates on their orders via a chat or via some notifications that they may sign up for. And so what we're going to build here really quickly is this particular integration with app integration, like Scott was talking about before, where on the left-hand side here, you see the clients. The clients can be a mobile application. It could be a web page. As these clients are entering this information in, the integration is going to, of course, extract and map that data accordingly and meet the use case of what the retailer is looking for. So you can see here, as that information is flowing through, we'll have the orders being sent to an ERP system automatically. We're also adding that order information into BigQuery, which is our data warehouse, as well as sending an email to the production facility or the warehouse facility to start processing those orders immediately. And so in this aspect, we're essentially automating this process. And so let's showcase how we can do this really, really quickly with the help of Gemini. So if you can see on the screen here, this is the application integration user interface. You can find this in the GCP console. What I'm going to do first, of course, is I'm going to navigate to the integrations, but also I want to enable the Cloud Companion API for Gemini Code Assist, right? So here you can see here, I'm actually automating the Cloud Companion API, and it's already enabled for this particular project. And then we're going to go over to the integrations page, and I'm actually going to look at building an integration. So here I'm going to create an integration. And from this particular perspective, I want to create an integration with the help of Gemini. So there's a button at the top here where it's going to allow me to create an integration. And there's some pre-built templates. So you can see we automate Salesforce assignments or updated ticket in Zendesk. But what we're going to do here is we're actually going to type in the natural language prompt based on what the retailer told me. And the prompt here is, when an order is received, extract relevant information, send it to ERP REST endpoint, and then also send that information to BigQuery, high level. And I want Gemini to go ahead and create an integration based on this natural language prompt. So you can see this is me typing that in, and then it built me an integration very, very quickly. And you can see I can review this integration. It gives me 2 iterations of it as well, where I may want to use this one or maybe the one on the next page, as well as a description of the flow of the integration as well, depending on the prompt we put into the platform. And so what you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and move over to the next one. Both of them look very good. I think I may like the first one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to the first integration, and then we're going to go ahead and confirm, right? And you can also edit the prompt as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to confirm this integration. And we're going to let this load for a moment. And with that, the integration should be available. So now the integration is available within a matter of minutes. Now, from this perspective, I can configure this integration depending on the use case or depending on the requirements from the retailer. And so you can see on the screen here, I have the ability to add to BigQuery. I have the ability to send calls to the production organization, as well as to the ERP system in the platform, very, very seamlessly. And so from this perspective, now I've created this integration. Now I can also tie it into my enterprise context. So let's imagine I actually already have BigQuery inside of my business that I'm using in GCP. I can connect it to this integration seamlessly. So you can see Gemini is actually giving me a recommendation on which BigQuery connections I should use. And if you can see here, I actually have my BigQuery Studio set up here. And from a BigQuery Studio perspective, I can actually go ahead and look and see what customers do we have in the retailers, or the retail orders in particular. So you can see here, here's my retail orders data set. at a high level. And if I click into the preview here, I should be able to see all of the orders. And I want all of this enterprise context to be added to the integration very seamlessly. And so from this perspective, when I come back to the integration screen, I should be able to tie this into the integration, right? And so you can see here my recommendations. Now I know exactly which BigQuery data set to use. And if I click that seamlessly, it'll be a part of the integration user interface. And so now I can actually I can test calls, or I can send information in, and it's going to send this to BigQuery accordingly. And you can see this is where I have it running in USD's 1. Here's my connection, as well as the entities that are available for me. So I can now I can create, I can list, I can get, or maybe I can delete orders. But now this is all powered via the BigQuery APIs through app integration. And so that's very, very seamless. Very quickly, we were able to build this use case very seamlessly with some requirements from the retailer. And this is just showcasing the power of utilizing Gemini to build out these integrations. So now we're going to go to the next part of this particular discussion. All right. And you can see the last piece here is modifying the email or the production facility we want to email to. Now let's talk about utilizing enterprise context with AI. So now you saw how seamless it was to build out an integration depending on the requirements of the retailer. We built that within a matter of minutes. Now, if we wanted to add additional enterprise context, which we've already added BigQuery context, we've already added our SAP ERP system if we wanted to configure that as well, how do we add more? And so the next part of that flow is, let's imagine the retailer has been working very, very successfully. The integration has been working very well for their customers and their consumers. But now they want to add more context. So in this particular portion of the demo, let's talk about how easy it is to add Zendesk into this existing integration flow. And so Zendesk is a ticketing management system. It's a SaaS-based application. And from this perspective, I want the retailer, or the retailer in particular, is looking to add more context to enrich the consumers or give the consumers more experiences. So as maybe they create orders, or maybe they're looking for orders, you can create tickets in Zendesk according to that. So if we scroll over here as well, and we're going to go through here. And so from this perspective, this is the next portion of the integration. So this is where we just left off, and I'm going to move over up across the screen here. And now what I want to do is I already actually have enterprise context or connection to our organization Zendesk instance. So you can see Zendesk at the bottom of the screen here. I could add ServiceNow or Salesforce, but Zendesk is what we're targeting. And so now I have a Zendesk connection, and I'm going to go ahead and go back in the integration, and I'm seamlessly just going to click on one of the edges here. And what this does is Gemini is working inside of the platform, and it can see what enterprise context we have. So you can see here, I'm speaking to Gemini, and I'm typing, hey, I want to create tickets in Zendesk at a baseline. And what Gemini is doing is actually going ahead and it's modifying the integration. So you can see it's changed it and added Zendesk into the integration. But what's also great about it is if I click it, then it's actually going to give me some recommendations in regards to what Zendesk instance I want to use. I only have one, but in this instance, it's going to absolutely go ahead and choose the Zendesk instance in particular. Maybe, for example, as an organization, we have multiple instances of Zendesk, but here I only have one. So if we click this, now Zendesk is configured, and now I can seamlessly connect to Zendesk. So you can see here, this is me finishing that particular component. Me also choosing which action or entities I want to use. So I want to just list the tickets in Zendesk, but I can do anything else, right? I can do other things in regards to macros, Twitter handles, followers, collaborations, but we're just targeting tickets in this instance. And I just wanted the ability to create a ticket. And so if you can see here, I'm going to click done. And this is all being powered via Zendesk integration API, or the Zendesk API, which is tied to app integration. And from this perspective, now my integration also can work in line with Zendesk, and I can name this so it's clear from a tech perspective, or for our developers in the business, or the integration developer. And we all know that as tickets come in, we can create tickets in Zendesk if we make a call for it. And that's it. It was seamless to be able to add additional enterprise context. Now, with the next piece of this, we're going to talk about customized connectivity. So Scott did a really good job talking about how organizations may have systems that aren't a part of our ecosystem. A good example, we can imagine organizations that have mainframes or AS400s, or maybe there's a specific system that our platform doesn't have connectivity to naturally. Maybe we don't have a native connector. Well, in the platform, we have the support of customized connectivity, where you can create a customized connector based on an open API specification, just like Scott was talking about. And from this perspective, you can essentially bring your own connector. So maybe there's a homegrown application you've built. You can bring that here as long as there's an open API spec, and we can use that with our platform and build a connectivity to that from integration, which is essentially adding additional enterprise context into integration. So you can see here at a high level, here's a sample use case of that, where maybe you have a payment system in your organization and you want to add that connectivity to app integration. So you can see here on the screen, this is a customized connector to that payment system powered via an open API specification. Or maybe you have an order system or order platform that you've built inside of your organization. You can do the same thing as well. And so this end-to-end is what it looks like from an integration perspective. This is a relatively short demo. And so from this perspective, if we look at this, I'm actually going to build out a custom connectivity to a AS400, or it's an on-premise mainframe. Well, it's not a mainframe. It's a version of a mainframe. And in this integration here, what I'm going to do is I want to establish connectivity to that AS400 in an on-premise environment. And so you can see here, I'm creating the connection. I'm going to create the connection USDs1. And I'm actually going to go ahead and choose this custom connector. I've actually already built it. So you can see here, this is all of the connectors in our platform. And at the very bottom, you should see the customized connector. Well, these are all the connectors we have available. But if you can see here, now I want to build that connectivity, right? And so I'm going to go back to the main screen here. And now I'm going to go to custom connectors on the left side of the user interface. And you can see I've already created the connectivity to this AS400 on-prem. And if I click this, the Open API specification that describes this particular connectivity is stored in a Google Cloud Storage bucket, right? So there's a OpenAPI.yaml. That YAML describes the APIs in front of that particular AS400. And what I've done here, as you can see in Swagger.io, I can actually see the API calls for this particular service in my on-premise environment, right? So I can see that I can get orders, I can create orders, and there's other things that I can do a part of the specification. And I just want to use this as fuel for my integration build. So we're going to skip through that. And you can see me trying it out as well here. So I can see at a high level the information that's in regards to the spec. And now if I go back to the integration screen, now I can build out an integration based off of this. So now I can build a customized connector as well. So I'm going to build a customized connector. So we're going to go here. We're going to name this custom demo. Now I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to configure some more details. You can use service accounts and configure other information for logging, but we're not going to do that. And we're just going to choose Open API spec. And now I'm going to upload the file. So I actually have the file already stored. And you can see this is me uploading the file. And now we're going to make sure that we choose the correct bucket for the upload location, right? So remember, I showed you the bucket from before, but we don't have to worry about that. We should be good to go here. And I've already created this connector, so you can see I'm not going to go ahead and go through creating it again. But the thought process there is if the connector needed to be targeted, or the spec needed to be targeted, I would target it. But now you can see I'm going to go back to my integration, right? I have an open legacy, or I actually have an integration that's tied to that AS400. And you can see here, I've created 3 different flows. I can list orders, I can get a specific order by an ID, or maybe I want to create a specific order. And the connection is going to be powered by the Open API spec or the custom connector. So if you see here, here's the connector to the AS400 with the spec. And I've enabled that a part of this integration. And now I have connectivity. And now I can actually test this. Now I can test this integration to see if I have connectivity back on premise to this AS400. So if I click test here, maybe I look for a specific order, let's say 1687. This call, as you can see, it actually went ahead and reached out across to the AS400 and got that particular order ID and the information around it. And so this is just showcasing how powerful it is to utilize a platform like this to establish connectivity to systems that are outside of the GCP ecosystem as well. What's even better here is I have a lot of fine-grained logs as well. So I can see the information end to end here. So I can see the output payload. I can see the response from the call to that AS400 through integrations. And I can utilize this information for troubleshooting or utilize this information to expand more further from a requirements perspective. So that was simple. Now, the last piece of the demonstration today is now we've added all this enterprise context together. Have built we built an integration very seamlessly with a natural language prompt. We were able to add additional enterprise context, speaking to Gemini as well. And then we lastly also just created customized connectivity to a mainframe or an AS400. Now, the last portion of the demonstration today is how easy is it for us to build out a generative AI agent that's tied to these integrations, right? So we have three different integrations, three different systems that the retailer has. Now let's build a generative AI agent in front of those enterprise contexts or in front of those integrations so that we can create a chatbot or create an agent depending on the requirements that we have as a retailer. So the next piece here is let's meet John. So let's imagine John is a customer service lead at Symbol. Symbol is the demo example we use a lot here at GCP. And let's imagine that John, his team handles user inquiries for the retailer, and they use multiple systems. They may use BigQuery. Maybe there's order data there. They may use Salesforce as a CRM system. They may use a AS400 and maybe some shipping provider applications. And generally, what John does is his job and his team's job is to consolidate information and provide accurate information to the customers that are coming to the retailer. So for a high level, let's imagine a customer wants to return a t-shirt, or let's imagine a customer wants to find out some information about an order. John's team would interface with that customer and make that happen. But the downside about John's job is that it takes John a lot of time, him and his entire order management team, it takes them a lot of time to help customers, right? Whenever orders comes in, they have to use maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different applications. So if they're talking to a customer, they may have to use a different screen to process the order. They may have to use another application to send an email to the production system, right? And it gets very, very cumbersome. And then also a lot of the work that John's team does is very, very manual in nature, right? And so creating order IDs and updating fields and entry information, and it really impacts the efficiency of the order management team. So how can organizations like this retailer or Symbol build out a generative AI agent experience tied into the multiple pieces of integrations that John's team needs? And so if you can see here, a lot of organizations we talk to, there's a lot of good generative AI agent use cases like customer service automation or creative assistance. Today's demo is going to be around customer service automation. And we're going to build out a generative AI agent that helps John's team work efficiently. This slide here really just showcases what is an AI agent. And an AI agent is an application that reasons on how to best achieve a goal based on inputs and the tools at its disposal. We're not going to dive into it too technically here on the call, but essentially this is what we're going to build, an application to help John's team. And what we're going to target for the demo is Vertex AI Agent Builder. And so we have a platform here at Google Cloud called Vertex AI. And under the umbrella here, there's 3 different pieces. You have the ability to either bring your own models to GCP or utilize our own Google specific models to build out your use cases and your requirements. But also a part of that is having an agent builder. So we have a low-code, no-code platform to help organizations build out generative AI agents. And this is what we're targeting for today's demonstration. And these are at a high level some use cases, right? Or some key considerations in regards to building out agents. How easily can you build the agent? How do you ensure the search and the retrieval augmented generation grounded in your enterprise truth or your enterprise context? And some other key requirements here for mitigating risk of hallucinations and security and privacy. But at a high level, we want to build this use case out. And so with the demonstration, what we're really going to target here is the power of an open API tool. We're going to build the agent. We're going to target an open API specification, and we're going to target the particular integrations that we've already built in the previous demonstrations. So this is end-to-end what our demonstration is going to be. And I'm going to go ahead and dive in. I'm doing a lot of talking. So here, if we start inside of BigQuery, we can see as a retailer, this was the BigQuery integration we built before, right? So now these are all the customers a part of our retailer. And you can see I have a BigQuery integration that I've already pre-built. And this BigQuery integration allows me to either list a specific customer or give an entire list of customers depending on the call I make to the integration. Then I also have a AS400 integration, as we showed before from the last demo, where I'm now connected to the AS400 and the retailer's on-premise environment. So this integration works to connect to that particular to that particular system. And then lastly, we also have a Zendesk integration as well. And the Zendesk integration is also a part of this. But we look in the screen here, this is the Vertex AI Agent Builder. I have a retail agent app. And so I'm actually going to go into the application. And this is pre-built, of course. And as you can see on the screen here, what I've done is I've added a lot of different information. I've added instructions in regards to how this agent's going to operate as John's team talks to it. And as you can see at a high level, I'm saying, hey, greet the users and ask them how you can help them today. And in the platform, we give you the ability to come up with sample instructions, but I've already fine-tuned these instructions depending on the requirements. And you can see that I've also tried to make the conversation very, very worthwhile for the user as the flows or as the inputs are coming into the particular agent. So you can see here, I have different tools. I have a user management tool that's tied to BigQuery. I also have an order management tool that's tied to the AS400. And then I also have a Zendesk tool that's tied to Zendesk. And at a high level, I want the agent to work with these tools or these particular integrations, depending on the prompt that comes in. And I've also fine-tuned this agent, where as you can see, if you want to create a ticket, I've told the agent what the output should look like from an agentic experience. And so as customers ask questions, or as John's team asks questions to the agent, I want the outputs from the agent to be similar or aligned to these examples that I've already pre-built into the agent. So you can see here, I imagine if someone asks a question about a ticket, you can see this is what the tool output should be. And I really want this agentic experience to be very, very good for the end user, whether this is customer facing or if this is internal to the business. And as you can see here, this is very, very clean in regards to that. And you have the ability to control every flow, every step of the interactions with the users of the agents. And I have some other examples as well, where I might expand on getting a list of users or get a specific order by an ID. But we're going to actually see what these outputs look like. So if I ask, give me a list of all of our customers, this is what the list should look like ideally. So if we go back to the agent here, now we can actually test this agent, right? And so what I've done here is we actually have an integration into Slack also inside of this particular demonstration, where I've taken that Vertex agent and I've published it to a Slack channel. And this is me essentially speaking to the agent now. Now that I've tied in all three of those integrations that we pre-built in the subsequent demos, now I've published this to a Slack channel, and now I can actually speak to the agent and talk to all of that enterprise context. So you can see here, I'm talking to it and I'm saying, hello, and it's saying, how can I help you today? And I'm saying, hey, can you create a ticket for John Jackson? And I'm not specifically telling the agent to create a ticket in Zendesk. I want it to intuitively do that. So you can see here, I'm actually typing the specific information. You can see at a high level, I'm allowing the agent to handle the conversation and to choose which tool to utilize depending on the integrations we tie to with Vertex AI Agent Builder. So it's very, very powerful. As you can see here, customers wouldn't be tied to the GCP ecosystem. They'd be tied to the platform of choice that they would like to use. And this is being powered by Dialogflow and integration that's in preview. And we are expanding as a product with this particular capability. But you can see I'm having a full conversation in the Slack ecosystem, or maybe I wanted to extend this to Google Chat or some of the other integrations like Discord that we have in the platform. But all of this is being powered via Vertex AI Agent Builder and app integration. And this is just me showcasing how seamless it was to deliver an order management app for John's team. And now John's team can work with this application, work with customers, deliver experiences very, very seamless for these customers, and improve efficiency. And now the retailer can also look at building out an external facing application very similar to this and choosing what data they want to expose with app integration. So now that we've finished the demonstrations, let's talk about the key takeaways from today's discussion, right? So now you have the ability to utilize application integration to help you demolish your data silos and being able to connect to your legacy and modern systems. So with the demonstrations, the retailer was able to do that through the series of demos that I showcased. Then also being able to help your customers. So the retailer was looking to improve the processes internally to ultimately affect the customers. So you can see here we were able to streamline the workflows, and we were able to introduce a high level of automation to help not only John's team, but also help the business holistically so that the customers are delighted and happy to return. And then lastly, the employee efficiency piece was very, very key and top of mind here, where now John's team and the order management specialists can focus on driving innovation and doing their jobs in an efficient way, rather than having to focus on utilizing 10 or 12 different screens and being able to process the orders. So the thought process here is utilize application integration to help you integrate and bridge the gap between your applications and your systems. Bring that to the platform, and then also consider other areas inside of your business that you can improve and automate as well, externally or internally. So that being said, I'm going to hand the discussion over to Scott, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Chris. I love how your demos really bring home the reality of what's possible in today's modern age with this next gen iPaaS platform that we're providing and all the AI tools available at Google. It's really up to your imagination, the amazing problems that you can solve with this platform. So thanks, Chris, for taking the time to walk us through that. I just want to open it up for questions. If you are watching this as a live event, you can type in your questions to the chat, and we will be able to answer those there. If you're watching this as a replay later, I've put a link to our Google Cloud community page. This is where we have our online forums, and you can always come there and ask questions, and we try to monitor that and get questions back to you as quickly as possible. But that's always available. And you can also just go there and learn a lot. There's articles that have been written and posts that have been shared. So you can learn about the product there as well. And finally, I just want to thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this session. We sure enjoyed giving it to you. And we're looking forward to hearing about how you use our product to build automations and integrations so that you can make your business better. Thank you.